Welcome once again to Circuit of the Americas here in Austin, Texas. We are continuing our coverage of qualifying here for the Porsche Sprint Challenge North America Series. Now it is time for the GT3 Cup cars to take part as they get lined up and ready to go. I'm Joe Peak with Jeremy Scott once again here today. We've already seen some fascinating qualifying sessions, but as the sun starts to burn off the haze a little bit here, it's looking more and more sunny, a hotter track, Jeremy. That's going to be a different challenge.
I can actually see planes taking off from Austin Bergstrom, so that's always a good sign. So looking up in here, yeah, that's going to be a challenge for some of these competitors because they're going to have to race their first race today, I should say, in the heat of the day at 3:35. But this is closer to about the time that these drivers will get on track tomorrow for their second race of the weekend. Of course, a lot of storylines here, including that of the points leader in the 992 Pro-Am, not able to compete this weekend, and three challengers, possibly four, looking to take advantage as cars are released from pit road.
You can see them already trying to weave a little bit to get some heat into those tires before they get going. Therese Lelou, one of our onboards, heading out onto the track and around the now infamous first turn Big Red, where it crests even a little bit after the apex, and then plunges back downhill to start the lap. Now, you will see on the left-hand side on your tower three different classes. The red ones there you see at the top, that is the 991 class. That is the only class that is the actual physical different car. The blue and the white are the same car. The only difference is the licenses of the drivers. You have the Pro-Am in the white, and the blue is the Masters.
And really, on the doors, if you're here at the Circuit of the Americas, it's going to be a black background. So we'll see what's it's a lot easier just to do it this way on our timing screen. So that way you guys can see exactly what's going on. See, the green flag is being waved as field working their way around for the first warm-up lap. Saw Ashley Freiberg going around Scott Blend as he's warming up. Interesting to note, a lot of the drivers coming down that straightaway, kind of getting those tires warm for their first flying lap of the session. Joe, we did see a lot of drivers pull off after that red flag in Cayman, kind of say, you know what, I'm good with my time. We saw how quick drivers pulled off in the West qualifying. Will we see the same here in GT3?
That's a good question because the drivers didn't seem, at least some of them didn't seem too fussed about trying to get an extra lap there in the Caymans, but these cars are slightly faster, so maybe they'll have an easier time getting around and knocking a few out. Look for the quickest times to be in the 209s and maybe the 208s, but with it looking a little bit more sunny and the track probably heating up, I'm wondering whether or not we will necessarily see them get down into that 208 lap time. Watch out for Thomas, especially there in that 296, the upper left of the tower. He has been basically tromping the field all season long, having taken all of the wins in his class so far there in Pro-Am. So someone's going to have to step up and take the fight to him as the green flag waves.
Ambient temperature about 81 degrees. We'll take a look at the track temperature here in a little bit. And it's actually 112 degrees compared to what we saw earlier this morning. Track temperatures in the 90s, Joe. That track is heated up quite quickly, as you said, drivers on their flying lap.
Absolutely. Now, as we watch them get ready to hit that first corner, we're going to watch with Frank Vitiello here and just show you how steep this climb is. That makes the braking extremely late, but look at how bumpy it is. That's one thing that I noticed yesterday as I was watching them up into that braking zone, Jeremy, is some of the drivers complained about that bumps, and that first corner definitely, I mean, you can see the cars bounding up and down.
And we talked to some of the drivers and some of the coaches as well after their sessions yesterday, and the one comment is there are multiple track surfaces here because most tracks they try and pave at one time. Well, Circuit of the Americas every year takes a section of track and they repave that section. So there's varying degrees of grip around this F1 style circuit.
Yep, so you got to be cognizant of that. The good news is the drivers have had extensive testing on previous days, and then yesterday there was lots of practice as well down to the inside. Frank Almost thought he was going to maybe try and go past one of his fellow competitors.
Yeah,
but
that was John Gilliland as we see a replay of that. That was a little close.
Yeah, that was a bit scary. Thankfully, they did not wind up coming together down there at that apex. As we now see Frank coming into turn 12 here, and that 248 car going to be hard to miss with that bright red paint scheme on it. But we'll keep an eye on him as this session goes on. As for those 991s as well, by the way, you'll see, speaking of bright red.
Look at that time by Jared Thomas and McIntosh. Bested with a 209.018. Thomas, 209.036. So already the JTR Motorsports Engineering drivers going 1-2 early on in the session.
Yeah, great time. Freiberg now the fastest, though. The first to break under 209 in this session. She's already on it, and she's a driver that has been looking for sponsorship. So she's been in a bit of a struggle, but when she does get on track, she's quick.
Yeah, so that's good to see that she's able to get there. Let's see what Vitiello does. And that is a 15.5. So early on, still trying to find that speed. Look at who your fastest is in Masters, though. It's Dave Musial Sr., Dave 1.0, if you see, look at the name. 226 is his number, 210.580 is his time. Of course, he was here when we were at Barber. Ooh, a little bit of a rub there between Vitiello and the 210 Miller.
Yeah, so thankfully they're going to get away with that one as well. Again, they have all three classes out at once, which means those 991s with their slightly slower lap times are going to have to deal with all these faster cars coming through as they're trying to set a quick lap.
Well, look who comes in the top 10, speaking of 991s. It's Tony Melito, the Fall Line Motorsports back driver, the 127 with an 11.3. Niels Meissner, second quickest with an 11.7. Charlie Peter, we saw how well he did at Barber. He's excited to come back and see if he can defend on those two wins with an 11.9.
One of the Musials is up into sixth in the prom. I believe that is 2.0.
That's 1.0 is 1.0 is Masters leader right now in the 226. 2.0 is
I didn't realize they were right next to each other on time. Yeah. So it looks like, wow, so they must have been sharing notes because very close on time out there, the two of them.
Yeah, and of course, they also have great coaching out of that Forward Motorsports tent. I was told if the driver doesn't do well, it's actually Tony Kester's fault, which I will blame him for everything, as he knows. But regardless, this is a fantastic showing so far from the Musials.
Bocuse goes quickest now, and by some margin, almost half a second faster than Freiberg on that last lap. Ashley only able to get a 209.2, so I wonder if she's going to ease it up a bit. And, yeah, rear of that car moved around a lot for Therese.
It really is, and she's doing her best to try and keep it on track. I was saying, because Charlie Peter now with a Niels Meissner goes to the top of the 991 class. No surprise there, 11.3. Charlie Peter with an 11.6. That's one of the drivers we were talking about saying, hey, I'm trying to get my way around this track, relearn this track, because he's raced here in SCCA Club Racing, where the track limits are vastly different than what we're seeing here in Porsche Sprint Challenge. And back to my Musials quip, if the drivers are doing well, it's Peter Ludwig's idea. If the driver's not doing well, it's Tony Kester's fault.
I like that excuse. As we hop back on board with Therese once again. This is into the far side of the track, down to turn 11 here. Critical corner exit. And yeah, this shows you how much it drops off. Car disappears behind the hill as she tries to get as much speed as she can.
Yeah, it's a little bit of a dip there, which is very interesting. She's running eighth fastest, 2.19 seconds behind the fastest time of Bocuse, but she's also 0.05 of a second behind Daniel Bloom of the 266.
And this is actually blend that we see in this bright yellow machine. Therese also running a yellow, but with a bit of blue on it. The blend's car is recognizable for the sort of Mardi Gras skull jester thing that they've got going on, which is definitely one of my favorite livery ideas they've got.
No, it's fantastic. Good to see Bocuse again up at the top with a 2:08.4. That's the time to beat. So right now, provisionally, is MDK Motorsports on the front row. Second row is JTR Motorsports Engineering with Jared Thomas in the 2:96. Anthony McIntosh in the 2:24. Conrad Geis sits fifth. Good showing from him. And look at Dave 1.0, Musial 1.0, 2:10.5.
Yeah, I'm actually very impressed with Musial Senior being able to get himself up that high up the order. I don't recall him having that good of qualifying results in the past.
Well, you got to remember too, last round that they were at was Sebring. That was the first time that both of them were in the 992 format, and I think with them now having that track knowledge that they had a couple of months ago, I think that they're using that to their advantage.
Well, the younger of the Musials has just jumped him, so a little bit of rivalry starting to form out on the circuit between the two of them. We'll see if they keep trading that position back and forth. But for Musial Senior, of course, the most important thing is staying on that pole in class, since they are not technically racing for points with one another, as the 298 carrying on out of turn one there, and trying to see if he can get himself a good lap with 15 minutes left to go. Already 10 minutes into this thing.
And Gilliland running under the Kelly Moss tent this weekend. He ran under there last round as well and had a great showing at Barber Motorsports Park. Right now, as we try and see where he is in the order, I believe he is...
He's 14th.
14th, yes, 14th in the order, thank you. As now we see Musial 2.0 rounding his way in that beautiful green and black liveried 992. As we said, was able to get a faster time, 2:10.27 out of the young driver out of Chicago, Illinois.
Yeah, and still have, Meissner has now, if I'm seeing correctly, gone quickest in the 991s over Melito.
Yeah, Meissner, Melito, and Peter, your top three right now in 991, as we're trying to see who is where on the track. Looks like Peter's coming into the stadium section, so we'll see if he can log a best time for him. Not too far behind is the 152 of Meissner in that multicolored 991. Look at that view there. So gorgeous.
Definitely a lot more clear than what we had earlier this morning.
Yeah, we could barely see down the back straightaway, so that's a good sign right there. As cars are coming into the pits to either make adjustments or decide whether or not they're going to save their tires for this afternoon's race. Again, 35 minutes plus one lap, and with it being a hot one already, it's only going to get warmer as the day goes on.
Yep, so disappearing behind some of our buildings here, and then eventually he'll pop out of turn 20.
Look at Charlie Peter, 11-1. So that Merle Swan engineered 991 making its way up near the front.
Wow. And we saw from last time that Peter and Meissner have started to form a little bit of a rivalry here from last week. Meissner needs to try and strike back at him and beat him on the track, because first round at Sebring, it was Niels who was the quicker of them, and really just ran away from every other 991 car.
Well, Therese Lelou also making her mark. She's now 7th fastest with a 2:10.5, so she's in between the Musials there. Still Dave 1.0. He is your fastest in Masters, and it's Scott Blend and Joel Johnson.
Therese was very happy with the results at Barber. She had her best finish of the season there. So she comes over from racing MX-5s, interestingly. And definitely a step up in power in these machines.
You know, it's interesting, too, out west they have a super spec Miata class that she was pretty quick in as well.
Yeah.
So, really, it just, it just goes to show that your spec classes, those are where these drivers need to be.
All right, so we continue to follow Dave Musial 2.0 down the back stretch, coming into the braking of turn 11, trying to make that as late as possible into there. There's Bocuse, our provisional pole sitter, and we'd mentioned our drivers going to abandon doing laps once they are happy with their positioning. Paul seems content, and honestly, I wonder if this is more just a human need, because, I mean, look at that. Both her and Ashley are currently getting air blown onto them. We heard, between 130, 145 Fahrenheit?
Yeah, in the cars, especially when it's, 90 some odd, like 97 degrees. So these drivers, it's going to be interesting. We say that the 35 minutes plus one lap is a sprint race. It's going to be more of an endurance challenge this weekend. This is, and of course, if you're watching the local media here in Austin, they're saying that this is the hottest that it's been Memorial Day weekend for quite some time. We're taking a look at our points leader, of course, the 296, Jared Thomas, the leader of the JTR Motorsports Engineering. He's only third quick, I should say, 2:08.9, so he's got a half second to find to catch up to Bocuse.
Yeah, it's funny that you mentioned that about the news, because I get a daily news in my email that updates about things all over the globe, and one of the things they mentioned, heat wave in Texas, and I thought to myself, no kidding.
Yeah. Have you not stepped outside recently?
Yeah.
Seriously, though, if you are here at the track, please make sure you hydrate. It is a hot one. I've abandoned my coffee for water today, so
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
There is our current points leader as well in that 296, but Thomas doesn't have the quickest time. He's managed to creep under the 2:09 marker that we mentioned with half a second to make up to Paul Bocuse. And not surprised that Paul is one of them that's seeming to find a little bit of pace in comparison, because Paul is a champion in the, I believe it was the Caymans last season?
Yep, Cayman Pro-Am.
Yes, so he's stepped up. So is Ashley as well, who was a champion in the 991s last season.
And that was a big storyline going into Sebring, and seeing how these two drivers could compete with one another, trying to battle for the same turf. And we're seeing that they're in lockstep with one another, whether it's, no matter where we're at right now. But keeping an eye on Jared Thomas. Let's see what he does this next time by. As a lot of drivers coming into the pits going to either take a decision on whether or not they're going to stand on their time or not, but we're going to see what Thomas does as he comes out of 19 into the left-hander of turn number 20, sets up just a little bit wide and has his nose pointed towards the start-finish line. Across the line.
It's not going to do it.
Let's see.
No, he was a 2:09.4.
Yes, 2:09.4, so I'll try for one more attempt. I keep forgetting that it's the FIA finish line that we are banking on this weekend. I was looking at the FIA start line, so apologies. It's been one of those weekends, but a handful of cars still out on track. Malia, the 149 Shermer, 121 of DeJesus. I actually got to see DeJesus has his coach on site with them, Eric Foss. Good to see him on site and helping out the 121, and looks like that it is paying off for DeJesus.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of coaches, again, good reason to see Bocuse and Freiberg up there, because one of the drivers, I don't know if he's technically a driver coach, but is helping out at MDK, is Jan Magnus.
Oh, that was a close one. Not sure who that was. It was 227 and the 270 almost came together there. So Mike Mim, who was on track trying to get onto his, Joel Johnson was the other car. So, a little bit of shortcut there too out of Mim. So,
yeah, the race control is watching track limits, so that lap probably going to be deleted if you go outside of the boundaries and cut the S's through that series of corners. 227 going to carry on, try to get up to speed. That is something there, that pit exit. I was listening during the track walk, some of the coaches and various drivers mentioning that you do have to watch out for it, because while you can't cross that white line, even once you get past that white line to denote a safe pit exit, you also don't want to dive all the way over to the right, because it's so blind coming up there.
It really is. And, yes, they all the way drivers left, but thankfully no harm, no foul there. But that's going to make an interesting start, to say the least. 992 Masters, still Dave Musial Sr., so Dave 1.0, Scott Blend and Joel Johnson, your top three.
And in the 991s, Peter still leading Meissner with Melito hot on their heels. In fact, Melito and Meissner split by about half a tenth of a second. That could easily change around here. We'll see whether or not it does. Definitely impressed with the lap times we're seeing out of those quickest in those 991s, because they're only, looks like, about 3 seconds off of our fastest 992s.
And it looks like Melito found his ground. He had a rough outing at Sebring, our first time out. Last time out at Barber, double P3. So Good to see that. Of course, this is coming after his partial season last year in 991. Mike Mim coming around the course to complete his flying lap. Does he go in? Yeah, looks like he's going to have the pace to go right into the pits.
Yeah, not really hustling it through there. And speaking of which, if you do get over to that triple apex or around the Mullet Tower, definitely try and stand, I'd say, down at turn 19 and watch them exit out. You can see how much they're leaning on the cars because, I mean, you can tell there's not a lot of suspension travel on these things, but they are hustling it through that long corner so fast. You can see the car leaning off to one side.
Yeah, we saw that in qualifying as well, especially through the S's as well. But yeah, that 19 exit, it is such a lean through there as we're watching the 227 coming across the circuit once more. Again, this is Joel Johnson. Joel is, I saw him on the list, he is third in Masters, 11th overall. Not bad for his first pro season so far, as he's only done club racing before.
We're seeing a lot of drivers that are making that leap. This is kind of the series to cut your teeth on when it comes to that. There's Johnson through turn 11 and on to the back straight as well. So hence why we're seeing some green drivers kind of coming in this season and experimenting, see how they fare on a professional level now, because this is where it starts to get a bit more serious.
Interesting to note, Scott Blend is just taken to the circuit, so he'll make it back around for at least one flying lap to go.
Yeah, Blend sitting about 4/10 behind, a little less than 4/10 behind Dave Musial Sr. currently. So he's got a little bit to do. It's not humongous, but once you're getting close to that half-second mark, then you know that you need to start looking into some charts and graphs and figuring out where you're losing time.
Frank Vitiello back on the course as well. He's 18th fastest in this field. Looks like he is also 6th fastest in the Masters class. Last time by, ran a 220.5.
Got awful quiet over in our corner here by the final turn.
It really did.
I think everybody's setting up for that last flyer pretty soon, because I'm looking at our track map, and yeah, there's a bunch that just flashed past us now, including the 227 and the 224. So with it being just under 4 minutes, they could do this one and one more, but that depends on if the tires can hold on for 2 pushing laps.
And that was Johnson and McIntosh that just crossed the line before us. And another one at speed is the 248 of Vitiello, who goes into turn number 1 as we're watching to see how many flying laps the 245 of Scott Blend will have. Blend actually just won a karting race out at Worldwide Technology Raceway. He is a very big believer in karting and just doing as much as you can to stay fit. Did quite well at the Miami Grand Prix for Porsche Carrera Cup North America a couple of weeks ago. So Blend really taking this racing thing by the horns.
Yeah, karting long been sort of the stepping stone a lot of, especially young drivers, will take to see if this is what they want to do and begin there. I'm still bitter about the whole karting thing because we got to go out in Utah, and I swear I had the slow cart.
That's how it always is.
Yeah, that's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it.
Hey, nothing wrong with that. All right, 246 left to go. So if Blend wants it, he's got 2 flyer laps at his disposal. He really has to make a big mistake to throw away one of that flyer lap. Is Vitiello coming down the back straightaway at speed.
Also see the 275 coming around here, and that's going to be Shane Leathers. Yeah. So not sure if he's on a flyer, but he's coming up to the final turn just right now, so I'm watching to see if he improves.
Leather, 21st quick overall, 11th fastest, and he is actually in the pit, so he decides he's just going to... Yeah, hot as it is, I don't blame him. Save those tires.
Save those tires. Save your energy. We talked about fans needing to hydrate, drivers especially. Many of them we've seen wearing cool suits, which only help so much. A lot of them say have said it works for about the first 2 or 3 laps, and then afterwards it does nothing.
Well, I've noticed that there's a couple of teams that also have the ice baths.
Yes.
Which I'm thinking about going in one here by the end of the day.
Yeah.
I almost wish I had my cooling rag as well.
Did you bring a swimsuit, though? Because
no. You know what? Hey, They've seen worse, trust me.
Okay. Well, we crossed the line with the last couple cars other than the 245. Now they'll have time to complete one more lap. That's the 270 and the 248. That's MIM, as well as
Vitiello.
Yeah, thank you.
Vitiello, who we've been watching these past couple of corners, but got to keep our eye on Scott Blend to see if he can go down for a flyer as he is rounding the stadium portion of the circuit. There's Vitiello in that all red number 248, the 992 Masters. He is 6th quick in that class. 18th quick overall.
Blend is out there, and I actually think he has time for one more lap.
He will, yeah, he will have time for one more lap. So we'll see what he can do here. The St. Louis, Missouri driver coming around into turn number 19. We're watching Frank Vitiello on your computers, on your TVs, and even on your big screens here at the Circuit of the Americas. We're everywhere this weekend. And Blend is actually going to come into the pits.
Yeah.
So it looks like that the Archangel Motorsports crew saw something that they didn't like and said, just come on in, let's save the tires.
Yeah, might as well. Don't risk the car. There's been too many drivers already that have ended their weekend prematurely. So if you don't think you've got it underneath you, might as well just preserve the equipment. But 2 more drivers can finish this lap. Let's see if they will actually hustle it around as we continue to watch with Frank.
Well, I think that Vitiello has actually slowed down because the gap between he and Mim has grown exponentially as Mim working his way around the stadium circuit. He'll head into the carousel here shortly, and yeah, look at that, 63, 64 miles an hour as he goes into turn number 13, heading towards 14.
Okay, so yeah, it looks like he might be off pace while Mim, let's see if he finishes this lap or if he's going to call it quits here. I'm watching the track map while on screen we continue to watch Vitiello. He's going for it.
All right, let's see what he does as he comes around turn number 20. Checker flag is out for the 270 Mike Mim. Wow, improves the 13th fastest, 9th in the Pro-Am, and he's going to split the difference between Charlie Peter and Niels Meissner, which means that Meissner is going to be right behind Charlie Peter for the start of today's race.
Interesting stuff. Well, that is pretty much it since we're expecting Vitiello to enter pit lane, which he dutifully does right now. And we have our unofficial results for GT3 qualifying and our last qualifying for the morning as well. It's off to racing after this in just a few moments' time. We'll have a short break. But it'll be the Porsche Sprint Challenge USA West first up at 12:50 p.m. local time. That's Central Time that will be on as we see Paul Bocuse, our provisional pole sitter, probably celebrating.
There's the MDK crew as they're starting to celebrate as well.
Giving us a little wave.
I think that's, that's a happy crew right now in spite of the heat. So.
Great stuff. Yeah. That means that Bocuse, our provisional pole sitter, Freiberg, going to be starting next to MDK 1-2 out here. And there you can see our results. Jared Thomas, interestingly, not on top, but starting in third. McIntosh will be P4. Conrad Geiss, a newcomer to professional racing, finding his feet quick. He's up to 5th this weekend in qualifying. Dave Musial, senior, junior, 2.0, I should say, is sitting in 6th. Therese Lelou qualifying at 7th before you get to Musial Senior, the pole position for our Masters category here, Jeremy.
Yeah, Daniel Bloom and Scott Blend will make up row 5 provisionally. We'll go through the rest of the top 20 if we have a couple of seconds. Take a look at it. It's going to be Joel Johnson alongside your 991 pole sitter, Charlie Peter in the 166. Mike Mim in the 270 will make up row 7 alongside Niels Meissner, your 991 points leader. Then it's Tony Melito, John Gilliland in row 8. Row 9 is Jody Miller and Frank Vitiello. And row 10 is the 246 of Mark Bowden and Eric Lapp in the 297. I've got to say this is going to be a fun race because, like the Caymans, we have a ton of storylines. And we're going to see who's going to come on top later on this afternoon. It's going to be a hot one. Again, if you're at the track, please hydrate. 3:35 is the time of the race. Joe?
That's going to take us to a break, as I said, to make sure and tune in at 12:50 Central Time to see Porsche Sprint Challenge USA West take to the track for race 1 of the weekend.